Let's talk about YouTube money. Now, as I was scrolling on my email, I get this email which in part reads, "Hi there, we are reaching out because Google will be required to deduct US taxes from payments to creators outside the US later this year, as early as June 2021. Over the next few weeks, we'll be asking you to submit your tax info in AdSense to determine the correct amount of taxes to deduct, if any apply. If your tax info isn't provided by 31st March 2021, Google may be required to deduct up to 24% of your total earnings worldwide." Now, I know many of you, when you receive this email, the first thing is freaking out and wondering what to do. So I am doing this video in order to allay your fears, first of all, explain to you what exactly is happening, how you can get ahead of this before May 31st. Something that I have said on this YouTube channel before is that treat YouTube like a business. That means that taxes have to be paid. Now, this is not a regulation by YouTube or by Google. This is a regulation by the US government that if you earn any money from its citizens, that means US citizens, then you need to pay taxes on the same. So Google as an organization has been mandated and has been told by the US government, if there's anyone who's making money from US citizens, they need to pay taxes. In the US, YouTube earnings are deemed as royalty income. And let me read for you what royalty income is. Royalty is a legally binding payment made to an individual for the ongoing use of his or her originally created assets, including copyrighted works, franchises, and natural resources. But royalties are predominantly associated with musicians who receive such payments whenever their originally recorded songs are played on the radio or television, used in movies, performed at concerts, bars and restaurants, or consumed via streaming services. In most cases, royalties are revenue generators specifically designed to compensate the owner of songs or properties when they license out their assets for another party's use. If you have your own work on YouTube and then you are monetized, that means that any income that is earned there is being earned by a third party on your own work. And then that's what makes it a royalty income that you're getting. So in Kenya, if you are earning a royalty income, there is supposed to be a withholding tax of 5% on your earnings. That means that if you're making 100 shillings on royalty income, you are supposed to pay the government 5 shillings for every 100 that you earn in this way. So that's number one thing. Now, going back to what YouTube is doing, YouTube is saying that if you are earning any amount from US citizens, that royalty and income you're making from US citizens, then you are going to be taxed on the same. So this is going to be withheld. In order for you to be able to see exactly how much money you are making in the US, you will need to go to your YouTube studio. So when you get here, click on Analytics, Revenue, Advanced Mode, Geography, go under Select Secondary Metric, More Metrics, then say your estimated revenue. What you now need to go and do is check for the month that you want to know how much tax is going to be deducted or withheld. In the month of February, what I'm actually looking at is United States. How much money did I make from the United States? So in this particular case, I made 19.55 US dollars. So this is the amount that is going to be affected by that tax change. So if you do not fill in the form as required, but I'll actually take you through the process of filling in the form, then they will be required to hold 24% of the whole amount. But here they're looking at the amount that you have made from US citizens. So on my channel, I made 19.55 from the US citizens. So that is what they will be holding. So because I am a Kenyan and there is another tax known as the digital services tax, I will still be required to pay that. But I'll talk about the digital services tax a little later in this particular video. So this is what is happening. If I provide my tax info, which we'll go to next, US taxes may only be applied to my monthly US earnings from AdSense. If no tax information is provided, your tax rate may default to the higher individual backup withholding rate, which is 24% of total earnings worldwide. That's what we just said. What we do now is go to Google AdSense, and once I've logged into my Google AdSense, there's already a notification, and the notification says check if additional tax information is required from you. All YouTube creators and partners are required to submit tax information to ensure all applicable taxes on your payments are accurate. So all I just need to do on this yellow box is click on Manage Tax Info. Once I've clicked on Manage Tax Info, it asks me to provide or update your tax information, your payments profile, and country. Determine how your taxes are collected, withheld, and reported. So to get payouts from Google, make sure that you provide your tax information. This will take a few minutes, and then it tells me there's no tax info on file because of course this is a new thing. So I click on Add Tax Info. So I'll read this through for you, and then it says to find the right tax form, please answer a few questions first. And the reason for these questions is so that they actually determine the correct form that you're supposed to sign. So this is what we are going to do. The IRS, the US Tax Authority, requires that tax information be reported in letters A to Z or numbers. For accented characters, use the letter only. What type of account is your AdSense account? So for mine, it's an individual account, and then I click on Next. Are you a citizen or resident of the United States? So citizens mean that I am a US citizen. Resident means that I have lived in the US. So the answer here is no. If you click on yes, it will take you to another place. But for us, it's a no. So then we go down, and then we say select the W8 tax form type. W8BEN, this form is commonly used by non-US individuals and would also be used to claim tax treaty benefits. So there are countries that have gotten into tax arrangements and agreements with the United States. In Africa, there's Tunisia, there's Egypt, and South Africa. The rest of the countries don't have a tax treaty. Then there is a W8ECI. This is mostly used by non-US business entity or individual that earns income related to its US trade or business and files a US income tax return. That does not apply to us, so we click on the W8BEN. Then we click on Start the Form. So tax identity, make sure this information is exactly the same as on your tax documents, and that the form is signed by an authorized representative of this legal entity. That just means you. So the name of the individual, which is the name that is on your KRA PIN. So your full name, then doing business as, if you are actually doing business, then country of citizenship. Here you just scroll to where your country is, and the country here we click on Kenya, and then it asks for your taxpayer identification number. A taxpayer identification number is a tax processing number required by the IRS for some tax forms. For foreign tax identification number, do not include any other foreign personal identification. If you're claiming treaty, you're required to provide a foreign tax identification number. This is optional unless you are claiming a tax treaty. So here, what you would need to do is just input your KRA PIN. That's what would be required here. So that's what I'll input, even though it is optional, and then click on next. Then permanent resident address is a PO box or in care of address. You will be required to submit additional documentation. So here, permanent address, I'll put where I live. So here you can input exactly where you stay, then include the postal code, and then click on next. Are you claiming a reduced rate of withholding under a tax treaty? So here you will just say no. US tax law may impose a 30% withholding tax on payments that are considered US income, US source income. This tax may be reduced or eliminated for any payee that qualifies under a relevant tax treaty. So we'll click on next. So here it will just say this is how your document will be generated. Review the PDF and confirm your information. So I'll just click on it, come back here and say I confirm that I've reviewed the generated tax documents to the best of my knowledge and believe they are true, correct, and complete. So then we go here, click on next, then certification just says that I declare that I've examined the information on this form and to the best of my knowledge and believe it is true, correct, and complete. Then there is a lot that's there. Then it says I authorize this form to be provided to any withholding agent that has control, receipt, or custody of the same, of which I'm a beneficial owner, or any withholding agent that can disburse or make payments of the income of which I am the beneficial owner. Then you put in your full name, and that's the name on your ID or KRA PIN. That's the full name that you put in. Are you the person listed in the signature section? Yes, I am. Or if you're not, then you say, no, I'm signing on behalf of the person listed as an agent, attorney in fact, executor, guardian, parent, etc. Then number 6, activities and performed in US and affidavit. Has the individual or entity identified in the tax identity section performed any activities and services for Google within the US? I'll say no. I certify that the services provided to Google or its affiliate will be performed solely outside the US, and that any labor or capital, including facilities or other tools used to provide such services, will be physically located outside the US. It just means that you're outside the US. It's a lot of stories, but that's what it means. And then status change affidavit. Are you providing tax info for a new or existing payments profile that hasn't received payments, or an existing payments profile that has previously received payments? So for mine, I am providing tax info for an existing payments profile that has previously received payments. If you're a very new YouTuber and this is the first time that you will be getting money, then you click on the very first one. So I declare that the information and certification contained here remained the same and unchanged from 1st of January 2020 until the present. I say yes, and then click on submit. The default withholding rate is at 30%. Other copyright default withholding rate is at 30%. Services default withholding rate is at 30%. So this affects the income that I earn from the US. Now, coming to Kenya, what you'll now need to understand is that there is a second tax that YouTubers are required to pay. Now, I hadn't planned on talking about this on its own, but because there's also this review by YouTube, I decided let me talk about this particular one. Let's talk about the digital services tax and how they are treated. So what is a digital services tax? This is a tax that is payable on income derived or accrued in Kenya from services offered through a digital market space. What is a digital marketplace? It's a platform that enables direct interaction between the buyers and sellers of goods and services through electronic means. So this means social media. This also means your website. This means a place like YouTube. So because we earn money from AdSense, meaning that we have connected a buyer and a seller of a service, then we are supposed to pay digital services tax. Now, this is the way it works. Every single month by the 20th, you are supposed to pay 1.5% of the gross transactional value. So this means that if you're earning 10,000 shillings from Google AdSense, you're supposed to declare that 1.5%, which is 1.5 of 10,000. That should be 15 over 1,000. That's 150 shillings. You're supposed to pay this to carry. Now, the next thing that you need to understand is that this amount is due at the time of the transfer of the payment for the service to the service provider. So this means that if you receive your payment on the 22nd, then it is due by the next month on the 20th. Is digital services tax a final tax? Now, if you are a Kenyan resident or a company with a permanent establishment in Kenya, then the DST is an advance tax that will offset against the income tax due in the course of the financial year. So this means that because you are already sending money every single month in terms of DST, at the end of the year, once you have done your calculations, which means that you have deducted all your expenses, because this is a business, of course, at the end of the year, you will calculate how much tax is actually due to KRA. And then you will deduct the amount that you have already paid in terms of DST. Then any balance that is due, that is what you will now submit as the final tax that is payable. Or if you've already paid excess, you are supposed to get a tax refund. So that is a basic understanding of what is changing in Kenya for Kenyan YouTubers in terms of YouTube earnings and taxes that are going to be due for your channel earnings. I hope this video has been of assistance to you, and I wish you all the best as you continue to create content on YouTube. I'll see you in the next one.